My name is Ron Fitzsimmons, and I'm the executive director of Alice's Kids.
So can you tell me the beginnings of Alice's Kids?
Um, well, it kind of stems from the early 60s when my family was on the New York State welfare system. And so we were accepting welfare for about 4 years, and we were in a middle-class neighborhood, but things got really, really bad for us during that time. And we were named the welfare family, and we were bullied and we were harassed and made fun of when I would come to school with holes in my shirts and stuff. But every once in a while, my mother, Alice, would pick up a few extra dollars ironing shirts or something, and she'd come home and she'd say, let's go to EJ Corvettes or some other store and let's go buy new sneakers, or let's go buy the new Beatles record, something like that. And we remembered, my sister and I remembered how we felt when she said, let's go out and get your own thing. Jump ahead many, many years, and about 12 years ago, my sister and I were talking. She was visiting me, and we started talking about the childhood, and I was kind of between jobs, and this notion came up about maybe trying to help kids who were in our situation and helping them not with the big stuff, food, housing, legal assistance. There are so many charities that do, but helping with the small things.
Right.
That meant a lot. And so the idea started to evolve, and the first thing I did was I went to all the local charities around here. I don't want to duplicate efforts, and I went to them. I said, "Hey, do you do this? If a kid can't afford $50 for soccer cleats or can't afford the prom ticket, do you give them money if they're your clients?" One woman said, "I don't have a petty cash drawer. I don't do things like that." And I went, "Oh." And it went from there, and everyone else said, "I can't do that. I'm not set up to do that." I talked to teachers. Teachers, of course, told me they're shelling out money all the time for kids, for items that the parents can't afford. And so this idea started to evolve, and I started to raise some money. We incorporated, and it just kind of went from there.
So what does it mean to you to carry your mom's legacy in the name of the charity?
Well, I'm glad we're doing it. My mom died, 15 years ago. And it's nice to carry out something in her name, and all. She was a troubled woman. She had, I think, a third grade education. She had lots of issues, but she really meant well, and tried her darndest. It's what's the word? Paying forward, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we started because it's now evolved into this national charity.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about it. You got a lot of publicity the past few weeks with Celebrity Jeopardy and Patton Oswald raising money. How did that come about, and how is that helping?
Well, Patton has been a friend of ours for about 7 years. He started donating about 7 years ago. And I've met him once. He invited me and my wife to go backstage when he was performing at the Kennedy Center a few years ago. But since he donated, we've been in touch with each other email-wise. And he sent money, and I said, thank you. And he said the magic words. He said, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" So I jumped on it. And but he's been amazing. His daughter's name is Alice. I think there's a connection there. But he's the kind of guy that just goes off and does things. So with Celebrity Jeopardy, he didn't tell me about it. I got an email from a producer saying, "Hey, Patton Oswald, Celebrity Jeopardy, designated Alice's kid." I'm going, "What?" And so I texted Patton, and I said, "Hey, man," we call each other man. "Hey, man. Did you do this? Are you doing this?" And he said, "Yeah, man. It'll be great." And he said, "I can win up to $1 million for you guys." I went, "What?" So it went from there, and I won't went to all the details of the thing, but he went to quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals. And yeah, he came in second place. And so that's $250,000. To put it in perspective, Mike, we this year our budget calls for us spending $1 million on kids. Last year we spent about 725,000. The year before that it was 500,000. So we're going like this. So $1 million budget for this year, which means of course you have to raise $1 million.
Yeah.
And so 250 is 1/4 of the budget in February. Whoa. So it's a nice injection of funds, and it really just means I was going to raise $1 million anyway. We're going to add the 250 to that, so it all goes in one pot. So the bottom line is that we can reach more kids, we can help more kids. It's as simple as that, which is what we'll do.
Earlier you said, the little things make a big difference, and helping these kids. What have you learned from them?
I knew it, but what I have learned, it's been fortified even more, was the fact that, when you live in poverty, you suffer physically and emotionally. Physically, when we didn't have any heat or hardly any food or no electricity, those were indignities that we could keep in our house. No one knew we were freezing in February. No one knew I was starving. But it was when, like I said earlier, when I had to go to school in the same shirt for 5 days in a row, or my shoes were flapping, my sneakers were flapping, or I couldn't go on the field trip because we couldn't afford $5. Those are public embarrassments. The other kids see this. And like I said, I knew that from personal experience, but I'm seeing it, once again with all the requests that we get, and the kids who are just in that situation, who they can't go to the prom with their friends. They can't walk around with the yearbook and get them signed because they can't afford the yearbook. They can't go to school because they can't afford the uniform. There's a lot out there that people don't realize, that when they think of poverty, they think of kids, people who don't have food, housing, they're homeless, they're no medical, which is accurate. But there's also this other underbelly of poverty that you don't see very often. And part of my mission, our mission, is to educate people. It doesn't sound like a big deal. Oh, the kid can't go on the field trip. Think of that 6-year-old kid who, and I've seen this happen, who has to go sit in another classroom because his class is going on the field trip and he can't afford it. Many times the teachers pay for it, the PTA or something, but what we've done for all those people, the teachers and social workers, we've given them now a resource. Hey, just send us an email. I'll approve it. I can show you. It's amazing what happens with us. Yeah, give me a second here. So says, thank you for your request. Thank you for your request. These are all requests on one page that I have in front of me. So I'm going to go boom, 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 approve, 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 approve. I read them, and I read every one. But yeah, maybe the bigger picture even is to educate people, because I think that it's not a misperception, but I think it's just people aren't aware of what people in poverty go through, what the kids go through, and stuff like that. You're in a strange classroom, or you can't see the blackboard because you don't have glasses. That can stick with you for your whole life. Particularly something like glasses when you can't read. So anyway, it's been rewarding to do this. It's depressing it breaks my heart when I see these requests and I read them, but it warms my heart when I can say approved and let's send them a gift card to Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that, or Macy's or whatever. I just wish and hope that we can reach millions and millions of more kids in the future. They're out there.
And now, people are talking more about mental health, and I've talked to, doctors who talk about, childhood trauma has a lot of effect in life. So how important is it for these kids to, be appreciated, knowing they have someone there for them?
I don't see the kids. I don't talk to the kids. So I don't know the answer directly. However, again, from personal experience, I know you appreciate the help. You appreciate that someone is caring about you. But also, we do get a lot of letters from the teachers or from the parents who will say, hi, Alice is good. So the parent knows they're getting help. They get a gift card from Alice is good. But parents write us regularly to say, oh, Johnny and I went out to Dick's Sporting Goods to get his new soccer cleats. We've never been to Dick's Sporting Goods. He didn't want to leave. It's like going to Disneyland for some of these kids. So we know we're having an impact on kids. Are we changing their lives? It's hard to tell. I don't know until I talk to the kid another 10 years from now. But we're certainly giving them a chance. And like you said, letting them know that someone cares. They don't know they're getting charity, but sometimes the parents say, someone helped us. Every parent is different how they handle this. And sometimes we get letters from kids who have been told, particularly older kids, yeah, it's a little, we're not your average charity where we come in and we give them a pair of shoes and you see them smile and you take their picture and they write a note, that the parents said, write them a note to thank you. It doesn't work that way here. We're anonymous. And a lot of people, including Patton Oswald, really like that aspect of our work. He's often talking about preserving the dignity of the child.
Yeah.
Because my sister and I know when we were in our situation, we had civic associations and churches come into our doorstep, handing us a box of clothes or a turkey or whatever. And as much as we appreciated it, it was embarrassing. And all, you're picking through the clothes. And once my sister picked out a sweater and she went to school the next day in the sweater, and there was a kid down the hall saying, hey, that's my sweater. She had donated it to something else, to the Salvation Army, and it got to us. So it's a different dynamic what we're doing. But yeah, that's why we don't ask for the kid's name in the request form. You can see the request form. We don't ask for their names. We don't want to know. It doesn't matter to us.
So where do you want to see the organization in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, by that time, I better have gotten that $10 million donation from Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg. Who knows? It's going to happen. I'm convinced that if I had, how long we've been going here, if I had 10 minutes with one of those people, they'd write a check. I'm totally convinced. It's getting to them, getting their attention.
Right.
And we're working on that. And things like Celebrity Jeopardy and, Steve Carell, the actor who's a big supporter, his interest in our stuff and them talking to other people and this and Twitter and this, it's going to hit somewhere. It's already hit. I mean, 5 years ago, our budget was less than $100,000. So things have been happening, and so now we're where we are. But yeah, 3 to 5 years. We'll probably have a new executive director, but it'll be a much larger charity, no doubt, because the need's there, and there are lots of generous people out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
what you're doing, I mean, have you ever thought of, what you want your legacy to be?
Well, Alice's kids. Um, uh, I've had other careers, and but this is the best work I've ever done. My background is in national politics. Worked for members of Congress, the lobbyists. This. Did you get anything done? I may have gotten something done. This, geez, every day I'm getting something done. Times 25. Knowing a kid's going to be going to summer camp, in a few months because of us, or they're taking violin lessons. I mean, it's amazing. So that would be hopefully my legacy, and it's a nice legacy to have, I think.